Dear pilots, on behalf of Bullet and Flight Productions and Radio, we want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to present an amazing opportunity to your organization which furthers positive gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender plus community endeavors throughout our network. Our platform, Bullet and Flight Radio, delivers powerful messages 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on topics like sexuality, mental wellness, faith, and religion, reaching over 10K plus listeners each month. From Airtime Pro to Radio FM. With Radio FM, you can play any live Bullet and Flight radio show on your iPhone and iPad. Tune in to tons of free programming featuring all the latest music on earth. Our first anniversary and annual celebration is here and will take place all month long through December 31st, 2022. Help us make 2023 even bigger for you. Ways to give to this inclusive, progressive, Christian nonprofit 501c3 for all believers in breaking all boundaries are as follows. Cash App, $, Bullet and Flight Radio, or mail your checks to P.O. Box 2545, Victorville, California, 92393. And remember, this is your story, our station.
Thank you, Bishop Carlton Pearson, for that A and B selection. Yes, praise God.
Come on here, Mama.
Hello, is this thing on?
Praise the Lord, sakes. Mama, stop all that.
Me and my daughter, Ruby Lee.
Hello.
We are here to deliver some radio announcements for Bullet and Flights.
Yes,
Bullets.
Mama.
Inspector Bullets. Yes.
Mama, stop it. It's Bullet and Flight Radio.
It's Bullet and Flight. The announcements goes as follows. Please join us every week for Just Dominic's Top 40 Gospel Songs. Oh, it's just heaven. And don't miss out on the indie spotlight that plays all throughout the week. And don't forget to listen to It's Just Kim, Pyro Power Hour, Intersexuals in the church, intersexuals around the church.
Mama,
Well,
y'all check out Victory Hop.
my Lord, I love the sermons from Vision Church of Atlanta and Renewed LA with Pastor Kurt Thomas. Yes, God, it blesses my soul. Yes, God, y'all tune in.
That's right, babies. Y'all be sure to tune in to Bullet and Flight Radio 7 days a week, 24/7.
Yes, Holy Ghost.
And for more information, visit bulletandflightradio.com. Again, that's bulletandflightradio.com.
Yes, and you know, Bullet and Flight is on
Mama.
24/7. That's what I just said, Mama. Well, Jesus, no.
Mama.
Y'all go and check out their schedule. Bullet and Flight Radio.
Your story,
our station.
Mama.
The best progressive Christian station in the world.
Come on here, Mama.
My guest today is best known as an American author, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and media personality, Catrice. Catrice is affectionately known by her YouTube subscribers as Cocktails and serves as host of Cocktail Hour with Catrice. Catrice has also authored several publications, including Triumph Over Adversity, Overcome Your Church Hurt, which documents her life in the process throughout ministry and delivers a beautiful testimony about her deliverance. In 2015, Catrice started her broadcast from Twitter and then moved to Periscope. Now, of course, nowadays she is on YouTube, and to date, her YouTube channel, Cocktail Hour with Catrice, has over 420,000 views and over 48,000 hours watched. Wow, congratulations on that. And To top it off, more than 3.5 million channel impressions. Please help me welcome to the show, Catrice.
All right, it's ringing. Let's see if Catrice is available.
This call is being recorded.
Hello.
Hello, is this Catrice, a.k.a. Miss Cocktail?
This is Cocktails. How are you? Is this Dominic?
Fantastic. Yes, this is. This is just Dominic giving you a call from Bullet and Flight Radio. And we've got our listeners on, and they have been very curious. You have been a very popular topic of conversation, being on the Darren Walters Show, which is also aired on Bullet and Flight Radio. So, yes, I'm so happy that you answered.
Well, thank you so much for calling me. I appreciate it. And I didn't know it was that popular, but to God be the glory, huh?
Yes, that's right. You know, we're playing in about, I think, 8 different countries now. So for all those that are listening in the Ukraine and Indonesia and the UK and all throughout the UK and even Russia, you know, we want to really connect our audience to you and let you know and our listening audience know that no one is alone, no matter where you are on this planet. So do you have a few moments to answer a few questions for us?
Sure, absolutely.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you got involved. For those that did not hear the Darren Walters Show on Bullet and Flight Radio, I suggest that you take a listen. It will rerun on Bullet and Flight on Tuesdays. But tell us a little bit about how you got involved in music, ministry, and the whole business side of the industry.
So actually, I was in ministry for, oh my goodness. Wow, I think I started in ministry at the end of 2003, and I was in ministry for a whopping 10 years. So I left in 2014, to take a sabbatical, and then, you know how life happens. Sometimes the sabbatical takes a little bit of time, but I'm sure we'll get into that at some point soon. But I started off in ministry and then branched off, and then I started broadcasting on Periscope. I don't know if you're familiar with that platform, but at one point it was owned by Twitter. And so I started to broadcast on Periscope. I had a pretty decent following there. But, you know, as life goes on and social media starts to change a little bit, I actually decided to take my content and put it on YouTube. So I started to pre-recorded videos. And initially, just Dominic, let me tell you, I was not in it to talk about the church, pastors, none of it. It really was about talking about manifestation and abundance and the law of attraction. But then you know how life is, and you know how YouTube is and social media. I saw a video about a very well-known bishop. And I said, oh, my, this is, it's a lot going on. So I kept watching, and then I couldn't help but record a video. So for the video, I just decided to just give my reaction to different topics that were going on, which has blossomed into this. So I think that my 10 years in ministry really prepared me to talk about the things that are going on within the church, Christianity, and the body of Christ today. So that's how I got started.
Wow. Yeah. What a beginning. You just never know. And Periscope was such a popular platform.
Oh, it's huge.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Periscope was massive. And I actually miss Periscope, but YouTube is giving Periscope a run for their money. So it was a good platform to start on.
Yes, that is so true. And it's so funny when you talk about going back now, we're talking about 20 years. I can't even believe 20 years of being in ministry. Yeah. And it's so funny how the church prepares you for public speaking and how to really articulate and express oneself. So you can tell you have that structure those bones, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good, great, one of the best things you do take away from that whole experience.
Right.
So tell us, what has been the impact of gospel music in your life, both pros and cons?
Of gospel music. I'll say this. Gospel music definitely, even, there are days when I'm broadcasting or preparing, my content calendar, which I've just recently started, and there are just some songs that get you through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are some songs that you just can't help but to turn on, or if I'm at the gym working out and thinking about what I'm supposed to do for the day or for YouTube, there's nothing like that one song that will really just take you over. You know what I mean? And it's amazing how how he uses his artists and musicians in order to get the message across. Even if it's a message of hope or, to move on or to let things go. You know what I mean? Sometimes God is just trying to relay the message for us to let some things go. And so if it wasn't for gospel music and those old school hymnals, I don't know where I would be. I don't have a clue where I would be. Yeah.
That is the truth. I totally agree with that. That has been where I found my sanity, or I have found that resting place, more in music than anything else. In every genre of gospel music, from hip hop to house to whatever, if it's good quality, I'm loving it.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
what has been some of the negatives, some of the cons that maybe you've faced within gospel music?
I'm not really big in, I'm not really in that sector, but I know from the church perspective, not so positive relationships, For me, I know personally, I've always been faced with not being a part of the quote unquote it crowd. I've always kind of been, just an average church goer. I used to call myself a church nerd, but not being a part of, I guess, the popular group, so to speak, is probably the most that I've faced within gospel music. So.
Yeah, I agree. For our listening audience, you hear me say all the time, I come from Detroit and raised in the 80s and 90s particularly, and it does have, the business does have its dark side. Yes, it's beautiful to be a church goer and a concert goer. It is a lot of fun, but sometimes stepping behind the veil can be a little. Got to figure out how to walk that tightrope for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, absolutely.
So, tell us, do you have any secret talents that you want to share with us?
Oh, what's one of my talents? Well,
That's a
one of my
crazy
talents
transition,
is no, you're fine. You're fine. I am a published author, so I'm a writer. I definitely enjoy writing. That's part of what came out of my Periscope days when I was recording on Periscope. One of the things that my followers were requesting during that time was for me to document what happened to cause church hurt within my life. So that's how my book was actually birthed. But I've always been a writer. I journal like crazy. Now I mostly use a computer instead of actually writing by hand. But I love to write. I love to create. I love to, and I love to pour into people. I think that's one of the biggest passions of my life. But yeah, I'm definitely a writer. I have a published book out called Triumph Over Adversity, Overcome the Church Hurt. And that, again, was birthed during that time of Periscope. So, yeah, a lot of people don't know that. If they don't watch the show, then they would never know that part.
Yes, that's right. And all those that are listening, you probably heard me touch on that in the opening and the introduction. That Catrice has her author side. She has definitely put the pen to the pad and given us a piece of her mind. And so that is fantastic.
Just a little bit.
Now, and then we want to encourage you. We're gonna get to it later in the interview, but how everyone can can connect to your book, find the book, download it, read it, and even send you feedback, to let you know that, hey, we got your book, we love you, and subscribing to social media. So we're going to get there in a minute, but I just wanted to, because this is such great information, I first always want to connect through ministry and music, because even if you're not a singer or a musician, that's something that is such a major part of Black church and the church experience. And so I always like to, because, we always connect over those things. If it's not food, it's going to be music. Usually
that's right. You are absolutely right about that.
So knowing about your podcast and how you've grown, how you've taken it to YouTube, and for sure, shout out to you and everyone. Let's give her some honor and put some respect on her name. Number one, all the people who talk about church are usually men, as we talked about, and anyone who watches YouTube can testify to that. You've got your Larry Reeves and your Thais Jacksons and your Daryl Walters and these wonderful individuals. No shade to them, but you don't hear a lot about church hurt from a female perspective. So your thoughts and your experience are deeply valued, especially here at Bullet and Flight Radio. Just wanted to say that to you.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, because, there are times where honestly, just like sometimes you want to give up, because you're thinking no one's listening, but then you get those messages saying, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. Or, thank you for talking about the situation that happened with, this woman of God that was done wrong, or something, something happened, and that's what keeps me going. It's really the subscribers, my cocktails crew, it's really them who, and the people that I don't even know. It's so funny. I get information from people, or just accolades from people that I have no clue, and that's what keeps me going. It's the people that are listening and that are being impacted,
Yes.
So I appreciate that.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes you're right. Sometimes we do things and we go live, and we say, only, X amount of people are watching. But then we don't realize that 2-3 days from now, or even a month from that moment, that seed was planted for another moment for someone else. And so those numbers start to go up, and people, like you say, their lives are impacted, because what you have to say and what you've experienced really does matter. And so, yes, I'm encouraging myself as I'm encouraging you, because it is absolutely.
Come on, yes, sometimes do that too. That's it.
So, in that vein, tell us where you see your career, your platform. This is your ministry. In actuality, where do you see it going in the next 10 years? Speak it, make it plain.
Okay, that's your prophetic right there, just Dominic, because you sound just like my subscribers, okay? These people have told me, Tasha, we don't care if you do this, because this is your ministry. And I thought, this is not my ministry. They said, Tasha, listen. I said, okay, I'm going to take it. I'm going to receive it. But, I'll be honest with you. I learned about, maybe 13 years ago, that even though I do write the vision, okay, I do Habakkuk, okay, I write the vision and I put it before God, and I send all those positive intentions out. I have learned, and it really stemmed from the death of my father 10 years ago, that I don't really like to do a lot of planning. So I'll do a base level of planning, but I also understand that God is going to be God. And so his plan is sufficient, just like his grace is sufficient. And so for me, I'll put it before him, and I go, you know what? This is my plan, but I know you got your own going on up there, so you tell me what you want me to do, and I'm going to do it. But this is what I really want. I still point to the calendar, and I still tell him this is really what I want right here. But I ultimately know because during that time when my father was passing, I had put myself on a 5-year plan, and the Lord took my father that same year. And so from that moment forward, I realized that God's plan was better than my plan could ever be. And so even now, I just say, you know what, Lord, this is what I want, but it's all in your hands. Let's go. Really. And I just walk hand in hand with him and let him guide me along the way. So, yeah, hopefully, 100,000 subscribers or more on YouTube in the name of Jesus. That's what I'm hoping for. Yes, that's what I'm hoping for.
We're going to put it out there. That's right. That's right. Because, it doesn't, like you say, we can make plans and get laughed at later on for making plans. But it is smart not to get too detailed, like you said, and, okay, it's going to be like this, and this year, and year 2 and 3 and 4. It's like, nah, it doesn't always work out that way. And God's plans are usually better than ours. So I'm glad to hear you say that. So, we're going to put it out there. In 10 years, you're going to have more than 100,000 subscribers. You're going to be, talking to all kinds of folks and doing all kinds of wonderful things. So you touched on your father and the passing of your father, which I am sorry to hear. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more of what your childhood was like.
Oh, my childhood actually prepared me for ministry, like most people. I have a twin sister. It's just my sister and I. Yeah, it's just my sister and I, and we actually grew up in my main church was the a.k.a. church. I'm an a.k.a. brat, grew up there, and also I was affiliated with UMC. And so, but I was in Sunday school every Sunday. I had a pretty low-key childhood, nothing too crazy. We all have our ups and downs and things, family issues. But, definitely was, my mother made sure we were always in Sunday school, always probably the first ones there, which I didn't like. But definitely had that foundation. And if it wasn't for my grandmother who passed when I was 12, I definitely would not have had that firm foundation within the church. But just an average upbringing, loving family, loving parents. My father was in Vietnam, so, he's very militant. So I think sometimes people can see that when they're watching my show, how I can be now. But I'm showing the softer side, too. So, it was a pretty decent childhood, but definitely that firm foundation within the church. Some things I didn't always agree with and question God about, honestly.
Yeah. But
it definitely prepared me for my tenure in the ministry and then ultimately now where we are today.
Yeah. Wow, that is absolutely amazing to hear. And, and I love to hear, and I was talking to a previous guest a few months back or a few weeks back, and she was saying that, my mother and father raised me in the church. And I said, can you just say that again? And I love to hear you talk about both your mother and your father and the impact that they have. Oftentimes, the assumption is we as African Americans only had one parent household. And to be honest, growing up, I barely knew anyone. I think maybe 1 or 2 people that I knew had a one-parent household. Other than that, our Black fathers, were in our lives. So that just touched me to hear you say that. That's why, So, I'm sorry for your loss again, but
definitely, thank you. Yeah, he was definitely in our lives, but when it came down to the church aspect, that's where I feel like I could have, we could have seen a stronger presence, but in the home, he was definitely there. He was a very active father. But he was definitely there.
Good. No, and I totally get that. To me, growing up in Black church, it is, 9 out of 10 people are going to be female, so it seemed, in the church. Yeah. And if there was a male pastor, it almost seemed like a harem or a cult in a sense, where outside men did not have the ability to, anyway, it just, I totally understand the perspective of your father. Because I had uncles who felt the same way.
You said it though. I mean, we definitely, there are. So I have a running joke on my in my life and in on my platform that a lot of times we see the churches and it's mostly women's ministry every Sunday. You know what I mean? And like you said, you have that male figure, that male pastor, and then you have the women, and the women is 85% women, 15% men, if that sometimes. So yeah, it's definitely still an issue in today's church.
It is, and I think that that's why the church is on fire right now. And I don't mean on fire in a good way. I mean burning down.
Wow.
It's because we haven't figured out a way. When I say we, of course, I shouldn't even say we, because I don't go to anybody's church, because I see that we just have not figured out a way to step out of our pride, step out of all of our titles and all the self-inflation to just talk to people and really talk about the good news. So I get it.
Yeah.
So can I ask you if you could? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, I was going to say if I can add this, and no, I don't want to run over, but I also say that many times, and I'm seeing it even more as I'm broadcasting and talking about these issues, that the Black church has single-handedly adopted the Black family value and morals. And sometimes that is don't ask, don't tell, or we're going to just keep that to the side and not address it. And I think that you would think that because of how many women are in the church that they will be addressing more issues. But when it comes down to their pastors, they don't play that. So, it just is what it is at this point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have seen so many times it leaves a lot of Black men out of church. It alienates them from their families because they may not agree with everything that this other guy is saying. And sometimes our fathers have seen the pastors in regular situations and think, hey, you're not going to tell me, not to drink or not to do this and that, and you doing that and much more.
Yeah.
So, And I also have enjoyed seeing the Hillsong saga play out over the past couple of years, and to see that they are on fire too, because a lot of our mega churches get their loans to become mega from them. Yeah. And so that template is just a copy and paste, and I don't like it. Well, anyway.
Yeah. That could be a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole other show right there, just talking about, because I love the Black church. I just like you, born and raised in it. And so I feel like I have the opportunity and should criticize the church any opportunity that I get, because I love it.
Yeah.
And to see the failure, to see houses closing, to see all of the hypocrisy and pride and lack of integrity across the board, it's really disgusting.
Yeah, that's the word right there, though, the integrity. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
we're losing the integrity.
Yes. So, everyone, I encourage you to tune in to Catrice's her podcast or her show on YouTube. I shouldn't say podcast. I may be putting that out in the future. That's probably going to happen. So.
Listen, I don't see it.
Because you can still get good wisdom, good knowledge, good information without all of the fluff. And a lot of people are turned off by that. If I want to go see a game show, I'll turn on a game show. But I shouldn't have to see it in my local church. Anyway, if you could collaborate with anyone on a project, whom would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think. You know what? I have to shout out the GOAT, and a lot of people don't really care for her too much. But I would love to collaborate and even just sit down and pick her brain, Wendy Williams. I really would love to sit down with Wendy Williams because I kind of liken myself to her a little bit because I could be extremely controversial, about issues concerning the church and not to have compassion concerning the church. But she made her way, on radio first, and then ultimately on television, just really sharing what was going on in the world. And my niche is the church, so that's I'm pretty much doing the same thing, to make sure that people are aware of what's going on and the quote unquote tea that I receive, but also sharing, passions and sharing solutions, because we can go online all the time and share our grievances, but we need to also provide some sort of solution, to the issues and the problems of what these types of things are doing. But I like how she handled herself back in the day, when she was broadcasting on the radio and everything. And, how she made such an impact on television. I know she's no longer on, but, man, people really miss her. And it's like you talked about that Hillsong copy and paste. There would not be a Jennifer Hudson on TV or a Sherry Shepherd without Wendy Williams paving that way.
That's right.
So you have to pay homage to her and, give her flowers. She's still here. So I would love to collaborate with her. I know she can be controversial, but so can I. And it's okay. Sometimes you got to tell a little bit of truth. It might hurt a little bit, but it's worth hearing because you can make some changes. Right. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. So Wendy
that is the truth. Okay. That is so interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought. How you do it?
Yeah.
I know that.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. What the people saying? That's like you gonna hear me saying on my show. What the people saying? What the people saying? Because she really, even with my setup, I have the same. I have a tan chair, not a purple chair, but I watch how she moved, and I remember she came on and they had her initial show, her pilot. I was in the room with my mom before she passed, and just watching her, and I was in awe of her. We're kind of, I think I'm 5'11", she's 5'10". We're kind of similarly built. So I said, no, I see her and I see myself in her.
Yes, yeah.
I saw myself in her, and I was enlightened immediately. Wow, look at what she's doing. Look at what she's saying. She's, and yes, it came across shady, but ultimately people could sit on her couch and share their feelings or talk about the situation and talk things out and leave it there. I mean, think about how many guests have come on there and it's been life-changing for them. Really.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
And that takes me to my next question, which is, what would you say your greatest passion and conviction is?
I like that word conviction. I like that word conviction. And it may sound cliche, but, and I think this is on my website, if I'm not mistaken, my passion is to see people live their lives out loud and in color, whatever color that is. You know what I mean? If you think that your color should be blue, then you paint in blue. You know what I mean? If you think that your color should be aqua, right, which is it's a shade of blue, but it's not quite blue, then you paint your color in aqua. So that's my passion, is to see people's lives change. I know you've probably seen a few things that I've done online, and one of the things that we're working on are working with women in particular, because I haven't gotten any stories about a lot of guys, but for the women that have had some challenges and they need assistance or they need a voice, giving voice to that person who may not have a voice for themselves, or if they're already talking, continue to cry aloud. And so if that color is gray at that moment, then we're coloring in gray for that person, and so we can change that color to whatever color they need it to be at that moment. And my subscribers, they ride for these people on top of it. They're following their journey. You know what I mean? Like you said, I didn't want to admit that it was ministry, but it is ministry. You know what I mean?
It is.
So just to watch them through the process, watch them grow. Yeah, watch them change, watch them to blossom. And if that's yellow, then that's their color for the day. So That's my passion.
And I hate going back to what you said at the opening, or even before we even started recording, and that is in the previous conversation. We talked about the fact that women are, like you said today, 85% of the church populace overall. Yet, it is not acceptable, even within the female society, to really have an outspoken woman. It's like, no, let the men do that sort of thing. We want the men to lead us, and we will follow. And breaking that cycle is also a really big deal. I remember one of my aunts who she's so conservative and so steeped and cemented in the church and its old ways. And I remember when Hillary Clinton ran for president, I believe the second time, she said, I would rather vote for Trump than vote for a woman. Because I don't believe a woman should be. And I thought, well, you are a woman and you're in the church. Yes, I don't believe in female pastors, and I don't believe in this, and I don't believe in It's so shocking to hear women say that sort of thing. So I believe that is part of the reason why your voice and your platform is so unique, because you have completely forsaken tradition of old, archaic ways that just aren't working.
Yeah, and you know what, just Dominic, my mouth is kind of big, so I also address that on the show. And I also say, if I was a man, you would do this. If I was a man, you would, you wouldn't be giving me as much grief. I like to call those things out, and I think it takes me back to my childhood, where one side of my family were, pro men. The men, we do as they say, and not in a bad and a negative way, but just, the man was just everything, right? So you're subservient to that man. The other side of my family was a little bit different. And so growing up seeing that, even to this day, my 85-year-old wonderful aunt, she still feels that way, right? So I've always been the woman to cry aloud, right? Like, I remember being a little girl and then telling me constantly, shut up, Catrice, because I would always just say what I felt like I needed to say, and I didn't want to be shunned or shut up, and it's carried me to this point, broadcasting, and I'm going to continue to use my voice to call out those issues, especially concerning the women's issues. And listen, I do it also for the LGBT plus community. I was an ally before an ally was a thing. You know what I mean? And I just recall talking to one of my besties of 30 years the other day, and he's a gay minister, rather. And I said to him, I remember when I first stepped foot in the church, and I felt conflicted, because I said my Bible says too that's how he knows that we are disciples, so that when we have love for one another. And love did not mean who you love, it just means he loved you. Okay? And so I've always felt, even when I was ordained in 2000, and God, what year was it, 2009? When I was ordained, I said, I'm still conflicted. And I can't shake this thing here. You know what I mean? Because I don't believe everything. And it wasn't that my pastors were trying to bog us down with that. It was just my own personal confliction. Yeah. And I said, if I have an opportunity to speak something, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And there was never enough truth in the church. It was always redacted, in my opinion. I remember being a kid asking questions about Daniel, who was clearly different, and what was a eunuch? What was that culture like? Bible talks about it. And I had no idea that was the LGBT. And how, because of course they didn't want that to be known, because they did not want God to be seen in the eunuch community. They don't want God to be seen in women. But I've read repeatedly that God said, I am both mother and father. And when Adam was created, he had an entire woman inside of him. So sexuality is very...
People don't want to talk about that conversation.
No. They can't see God as a woman. But if we're made in His image and likeness, then He is both male and female, just upon that alone.
That's
So
right.
it's just so sad that we're so archaic in our thinking, and we're supposed to be so progressive. Anyway.
Yeah. That's another conversation, right?
That is another conversation. We're going to have you back, in all honesty, so we can have a conversation about just theology and just
Sure, I would love that. Absolutely, let's do it.
Yes, we're going to do it. So everyone, I want you to stay tuned because before I get there, tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
You all can find me at a Cocktail Hour with Catrice on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, and TikTok. I'm also on TikTok. Cocktail Hour with Catrice. It might be Cocktail Hour W Catrice on TikTok and Instagram, but Cocktail Hour with Catrice on all social media platforms.
Oh, wow. All right. That's pretty easy, everyone. So please make sure you lock this in and support this brilliant sister, okay? She is intelligent. She is insightful. She is bold. She's going to speak her mind. You may not like everything that she says or how she says everything, but trust me, by the end, you're going to love and say, you know what? She was right. She was right. That's right. She's not going to talk to you like you're so fragile and delicate. She's going to speak the truth. And that's what we encourage here and what we love. So please find Cocktails with Catrice or Catrice Cocktails. Just punch it in online and search for and make sure you like and subscribe. Please do that because we want to support all voices and our people and perspectives that come from a place of truth and just genuineness. So please do that. And I will do the same. So you'll see me and we'll see each other.
We'll see each other. Okay?
We'll see each other. So everyone, keep it locked right here. Up next, we are going to play some hot gospel hits and some of your favorite tunes. So keep it locked. You don't want to miss anything. All right.
You've probably heard of our sister company, Pyro Media Network, where some of the best rising star creators are streaming next level content. But have you ever wondered how they are produced? Have you ever wanted that same top quality content creation, photography, video production, and more for your brand? Don't take another second to debate. Book your wedding photographer or videographer, create a promo for your business, or get your special occasion film in the most beautiful way possible. Visit www.pyromediaproductions.com or call 323-405-3820 to schedule a free consultation and let us take your project to the next level.